here. Now, you're going to have to listen to this carefully. It's a nice, funny story. It's the story of a young would-be ordinand who was going to be interviewed by the bishop to see if he would qualify for the ministry. So the bishop looked at him and said this. He said, "Well, Sam, will you tell me the parable of the Good Samaritan?" "Yes, sir, I will, sir. Once there was this man traveling from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he fell among the thorns, and the thorns sprung up and choked him. And as he went on, he didn't have any money, and so he met the Queen of Sheba, and she gave him 1,000 talents of gold and 100 changes of raiment. And he got into a chariot and drove furiously, and when he was driving under that big juniper tree, his hair got caught on the limb of that tree, and he hung there many days and many nights, and the ravens brought him food to eat and water to drink. And he ate 5,000 loaves of bread and 2 fishes. One night when he was hanging there asleep, his wife Delilah come along and cut off his hair. And he dropped and fell on stony ground, but he got up and went on, and it began to rain, and it rained 40 days and 40 nights. And he hid himself in a cave and lived on locusts and wild honey. Then he went on till he met a servant who said, "Come take supper at my house." And he made excuse and said, "No, I won't. I've married a wife and I can't go." And the servant went out in the highways and in the hedges and compelled him to come in. After supper, he went on and come on down to Jericho. And when he got there, he looked up and saw that old Queen Jezebel sitting way up high in a window. And she laughed at him, and he said, "Throw her down out there." And they threw her down. And he said, "Throw her down again." And they threw her down 70 times 7. And of the fragments that remained, they picked up 12 baskets full, beside women and children. And they said, "Blessed are the peacemakers," P-I-E-C-E. Now, whose wife do you think she will be on that judgment day? You know what? You really have to know the scriptures to get the gist of that story. But it is one messed up story. It's a story that's taken from bits and fragments of here and there and everywhere to make a marvelous story, but it is not the real story. It's a story made up by some guy trying to get an ordination, having missed the scriptures completely. I will suggest to you that maybe 5 or 10 years from now, if I read that in an average congregation, many might not even get it, because you have to know the real story in order to get the perversion of it. And the biblical narrative is very clear in the stories that it tells.